Most people think to stand out in this business, you need to be the first one on top of the story or the person with the loudest voice or the biggest ratings. In truth, to stand out in the news business, you just need to ask the right questions and demand the right answers.
Hello and welcome to INN's Tweetline Plus. I was thinking of the show Headlines and Beyond. This is a new one called Tweetline Plus. Headlines and Beyond was a good show. It's still going to come back, but there are issues that people have discussed with me that the show was too long, was too heavy for them. So I decided to bring in a new show called Tweetline Plus. Well, what is Tweetline Plus? Tweetline Plus are my notes. When you go into research and you go into do some form of study, you're always taking notes, and this is part of the notes. This is basically, it's an enhanced type of vlog. A vlog is a video log. Many people use video logs as an entertainment purpose, but video logs can be used for scientific, for research purposes, and that's what we're doing here. And that's why what you'll see in here, and this is what I'll give you now, it's called time and date stamp. It gives you the time, and then you get the date. We're using a 24-hour time clock, so that's the way we're going to present it. So it is 5 hours and 6 minutes, 5:06 a.m. Right, so 5 hours and 6 minutes into the day of Friday, April 8th, 2016. And this vlog is not going to be a polished vlog. This show is not going to be a vlogger show. It is not going to be a polished show. Why? I want people to see the underneath. I want them to see, in many ways, the unedited part of the notes. In many cases, when you go to watch a broadcast, a lot of they're telling you the truth. They're divining the truth. They're going to tell you what the truth is. But more often than not, we see with the government that the government often lies. And as you go into and start watching more of the news broadcast, and ask yourself, well, of all the channels out there, are they all telling us the truth? Because each one has something a little different to say. And the answer is yes and no. What happened is, because everyone has a point of view, even doesn't matter who they are or how much truth they say or give, they all have a point of view. There's always a bias there. And you look and find the bias by digging into the person's background. Who is the person? The more background there is out there, the more open the person is, and the more you can say, okay, this is who this guy is, this is where the information is coming from, this is his particular point of view. You can sort of, because the information is there. If the information isn't forwardly offered, as the show becomes more popular, people start digging into the background of the individual. And this is, give the example of the case here, Alex Jones. Alex Jones is one of those alternative media guys who says he's going to tell you what the truth is, but lo and behold, you go into his background, you do a YouTube or a Google search for it, and you start finding background information that says he is not exactly who he claims to be. And you find more and more of the stuff out there. You go through the information, you vet your sources, you investigate your sources as you produce more and more of a perspective. And as I said, you need to go out and find more than one source. It's digging in and sort of crawling through the internet to find bits and pieces that are literally scattered all over the place. And every time you find a bit of information, you have to go through it and see, okay, what do you think of it? Is this person telling the truth? Are they telling a lie? How do you know? And then you have to go check their background. There really isn't an end to it because you always have to do background checking. Every time you find a source, that source has to be checked. And so you always end up with an approximate, even though you've got a lot of these different pieces putting together and being put together, then it's the sum of the pieces, the puzzle, not the pieces themselves. So put the puzzles together with all the different pieces, what do you get? You either get something that looks okay, that you can actually see a clear picture, or you get a mess. And the thing is, sometimes you do get a mess, and you got to go back and reorganize things until a picture starts to appear. And this is kind of the way things go, and it's long hours. If you go back to my vlog, the behind the scenes vlog, you'll see how long I put in, how much time I spent working on these different particular issues. To find source after source, to go through source after source. And the bizarre thing is, if you do enough digging, you will say, oh, well, you're spending all that time on one source, and you're doing so much background checking. If the source is good enough, it will bring you back to your topic again. You can go, back to one source, check that source, and go checking again and again and again. And as you start checking further, what you'll see is other pieces of the puzzle, the initial puzzle you're looking at. The other pieces will start. You'll start finding other pieces. You'll start finding a lot of areas where where the information is. Now there are tangents. There's always tangents to every topic. If you go into conspiracy theories, you can go political conspiracy theory into scientific conspiracy theory. For example, you go from Illuminati all the way to Tesla. And the thing is, each one has their own varying degrees of truth. And the thing is, they often talk about these. You go into these these alternative media sources. They're often called the conspiracy theorists. Although, well, they do argue about conspiracy. They're not necessarily conspiracy theorists themselves. They have other particular points of view, but they're simply focusing on this in terms of what they're presenting. And the thing is that you can take the conspiracy theory and say, okay, they're alternative media. Then you have RT pop up, which is Russian Today. And you see the popular headline from the mainstream media saying, oh, this is propaganda. But most mainstream media, if you look at whether it's CTV in Canada or CBC in Canada, they're all government funded. They're all sponsored by the government. Most European channels are sponsored by they have grants that are given to them by the government. And the same thing in the United States. There is a certain degree of control, and you actually can find this in the history. If you go into the history of the CIA, and this is what we will be doing here, is going into some of the history of the CIA, to see that there was always a close relationship between media and intelligence. This is the way it's always been. This isn't something new. And as you start doing this, you start looking into the history. This is the difference between history and conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is they assume that what's going on is conspiracy because it doesn't look exactly right, and because the government has lied to us. But as soon as you start going to history, you begin to see some of the conspiracies that they talk about as historical realities. They no longer really become conspiracy. They're not in that sense, but they become now history. That these are historically linked events, and you can see parallels in history. I mean, go into the history books and see, okay, talking about Syria conspiracy. Well, all you have to do is go into the history books back as far as 1950s, in the 1950s, to see the U.S. government overthrowing Iran. The Iranian government, Mossadegh. If you look up the person Mossadegh, you'll find even if you do an approximate spelling of Mossadegh, go into do a Google search, you will find an enormous amount of history on Mossadegh and how the United States and the U.S. government overthrew that particular government and installed the Shah of Iran. And then you begin to realize that its situation in the Middle East is not a new one. That there's always been this struggle going on. If you go and look at the Ayatollah Khomeini, you'll find out in terms of the history of the Ayatollah Khomeini that he did not come from Iran. Ayatollah Khomeini came from France. And so you begin to see the relationship between Islam and France. And again, this whole thing about if you look at the issue in Calais and the migrants in Calais. Well, this is not a new issue. This is an old issue. It's an issue that's come back again. And this is what we're talking about when we're going into sort of divining the truth. And this is what Tweetlines is about. Well, this is the introductory to this stuff. This is sort of an introduction to the comments that will be about this will be about 10 to 15 minutes in length. And we'll begin to look at and develop the initial paths into examining issues that are going on in the headlines that are tweet line worthy. A tweet line is essentially a headline, but now with the social media, let's call it a tweet line. So the headline becomes a tweet line, and because we are doing more than simply looking at the headline, we're going into some of the understanding behind the headline. That's why it's called Tweet Line Plus. And this is the beginning part. If you want something more comprehensive, there's another one, another show, another type of vlog coming up that will be they'll call Insta-Vlog. The Insta-Vlog is going to be about a half hour in length. And this will have, it would go further into depth into what's been going on. We'll try to sort of take our notes and pull them together into an Insta-Vlog and expand on what we understand. And this will help us develop a better understanding of what's going on. If you want something further, you want to go in deeper, the next step will be into Headlines and Beyond. Headlines and Beyond will be coming back. Headlines and Beyond will be the first initial essay, a verbal essay, an oral essay, based on both the Tweet Line Plus and what we did in Insta-Vlog. So in other words, we have a progression from, you have 10 to 15 minutes for Tweet Line Plus, you have a half hour for Insta-Vlogs, and then an hour long for Headlines and Beyond. And I think so. There's a progression here, and then we will eventually get up to documentaries as well. The documentaries, I was trying to think of whether I should do them in 2-hour chunks, but I think 2 hours is enough. I watch people watching other lectures and other types of documentaries, and 2 hours is a long time. So what I'll do is for the documentaries, I'll split them up into series, 1 hour series, and so the hour will be the basic length of the upper length of the show, of any show on here, and you can take that and you can add in extra you'll have a documentary that's 3 hours long broken up into 3 parts. So it'll be an hour, and then 1, 2, 3 as an hour. Each part will be an hour. Anyways, I'm going to leave this here for now, and look forward to seeing you again. And this should be up, our posting schedule should eventually be daily. But it's going to be posted, these Tweet Line Plus will be posted as we go through various different things that are going on in the news, in the headlines, and as we start going beyond the general understanding of what's presented in the headlines. So, anyways, I'll leave that here for now, and I'll see you in the next episode or the next segment of Tweet Line Plus. Take it easy, and goodbye.
Welcome to the library, and I am the librarian.
I am the professor. And professor of what? Professor of physics.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Free speech rules here at Democratic Earth.